So, Star Trek, the original series, the episode, The Cage. I'm going to do this all as an entire thing because I hate breaking them up into two parts, so we're only going to do this as one. So, my original thought on the whole thing, besides the fact that, oh, this jump started the whole franchise, and, of course, everyone knows that it was the failed pilot. But the thing that I really enjoy about this one is the fact that it's such a nod to the 1940s, kind of, Buck Rogers type vibe. The Captain Proton that Voyager would eventually use. It's such a retro throwback. The black and white whole. It has the feel of like the movie serials that you had back in the day. Um, of course, we didn't know that Spock was, so emotional back then, because none of that stuff was established. So I can't hold that to him. But, you had the refreshing, um, woman on the bridge type thing, which at the time was unprecedented. You had, an alien who looked like Satan. I heard in a couple of interviews that he was supposed to be red, and they thought that was just going too far. But, what Star Trek would have been if we had had a red, satanic-looking character. But what they gave us and what they presented, was a very well thought out, with the Telosians. And kind of putting humanity more or less kind of in a test tube, and kind of testing what does it mean to be human, and pushing those boundaries. And I thought that was a very interesting concept. Even as a kid, I really liked the fact that this wasn't a Kirk adventure. This was something different. And the black and white format again was something that was drastically different from what we got, from the bright reds and the bright blues and the bright yellows, the original series was known for. This was something that was drastically different and very intellectually done, which is something that the original series was known to be. But I loved Jeffrey Hunter as Captain Pike. I felt was a very strong lead for this. You could tell a lot behind his eyes that he was more than just he was more than there for bravado. He was a very intellectual, very thinking captain, and I think the original series would have been very different had we got something a little bit more in this vein, especially with him as the lead. I think it would have been I think it would have been super interesting to watch that timeline's version of Star Trek. In a sense, we're getting that with, uh, Star Trek, Strange New Worlds. And I like that because I think Anson Mount does a very good interpretation of the Pike character. Not just Jeffrey Hunter, but the Pike character. I also think, in a sense, Bruce Greenwood did the same thing with, Star Trek '09. Again, both of those characters are nods to Jeffrey Hunter, which is throwbacks to the Cage. And I like that because this is kind of the great unsung thing that started everything for Star Trek. But what they gave us there, I love. I think this is probably my favorite Enterprise bridge, because it's such a claustrophobic submarine vibe that you get here, from the briefing room to the bridge. Even the crew quarters, it feels very cramped, very small. Um, you don't really get that sense from the original series, but you get that sense here. The color palette is grays and dark blues and blacks. It's a very different color palette, somewhat more military like, without being full blown military. It feels like a good cross between military and science. Um, so it's one of those things that I enjoyed this for being different, and I always feel like different is good. But I enjoyed this. I thought it was great. The Cage stuff so much, seeing all the different aliens, like from the gorilla type thing to the bird, where it's like, well, it's kind of corny by today's standards, but again, at the time, it's like we don't know what alien life really looks like. So they took a lot of liberties there, and I felt like that was something that's very interesting. I think it's something that modern uh, I think modern sci-fi could kind of take a page from this, as being something that's drastically different. Um, so I loved the fact that it was, when you watch it with, it's when you watch it with modern eyes and you kind of look back in historical context, it's kind of like watching George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, where yeah, it may not be as gorish as what we have from like today's Walking Dead standards, but it's it's definitely something that they weren't doing at the time, and it's something different. So I enjoy it for what it was. Um, and I certainly don't mind watching other homages to that, like thinking of Star Trek First Frontier, the fan film. It does it did that, and I enjoyed that because a lot of the nods to that, it's very good. Plus the pointed tips on the Enterprise is kind of cool. So but no, I enjoyed the Cage. I think it was a great episode, not just because it was the pilot. I just think it was a great episode altogether. And seeing different crew members. I think that's probably what brought my fascination into fan films, and not just oh, it's got to be Kirk and Spock. It's I love seeing other crews. Because this definitely felt like a different crew. So anyway, all right, guys. With that in mind, be genuine, be safe, keep on geeking on.